Hello guys, this is Nick with PhoneArena and you're watching our video review of the Sony Xperia E Dual. As the name suggests, this smartphone can work with two SIM cards at the same time, either connected to the same or two different wireless carriers. As far as specs go, there's nothing too impressive about it. It has a 3.5-inch display on its front. On the inside there's a 1 GHz single-core processor, and on its back we see a pretty basic 3.2 megapixel camera. That's nothing too impressive, but on the bright side of things, the smartphone actually is really affordable. So let's check it out in detail and see what it can do. First, a few words about the design of the smartphone. Without a doubt, the Sony Xperia E Dual is an entry-level smartphone, and you can tell by the fact that it's made entirely out of plastic, but at least it looks quite nice for such an affordable smartphone. The texture on the back adds grip and looks actually quite nice. It adds character to this device. We like the color, and the back side is slightly curved, which allows the smartphone to rest quite nicely in the palm of your hand. Moreover, its size is great for single-handed usage. There isn't a whole lot going on the front side of the smartphone. Here we see the earpiece. There's a very discreet notification light right here. And on the other side we have a proximity sensor. Underneath the display we see the usual trio of capacitive Android buttons, one for back, one for home and one for menu. And on the right side of the device we have a set of physical buttons. Here we have the camera shutter, the physical lock key, which is very well exposed, and the 2-button volume rocker. They work just fine, but we really wish that the volume rocker was slightly bigger than this. The display on the Sony Xperia E Dual is of relatively low quality. When you're using the phone outdoors, you really have to set its brightness up to the maximum, because otherwise the phone isn't usable. It has pretty poor viewing angles and its surface reflects quite a lot of light. Its resolution is 320 by 480 pixels, which for a screen of 3.5 inches is very low. That is why graphics lack detail and texts appear slightly fuzzy around the edges. Out of the box, on the Sony Xperia E Dual runs Android 4.0 Ice Cream Sandwich, but Sony has promised to release an update to 4.1 Jelly Bean in the near future. Overall, the user interface is focused a lot more on being practical than being pleasant to the eye. It comes with a great selection of widgets, including social networking widgets and widgets that leverage the dual SIM functionality. There's also a very nice selection of preloaded wallpapers. Here we have the on-screen virtual keyboard on the Xperia E Dual. It's not exactly bad, but it's too narrow, so typos can be common. But thankfully you can use the keyboard in landscape mode, so it's better spaced out, and you also get an autocorrect functionality which can correct your typos as you type. When using the Sony Xperia E Dual with two SIM cards at the same time, you have to assign one of them as your primary SIM card. Only the primary SIM will handle voice calls and outgoing text messages. Toggling between the two cards is done with the help of this little button located in the drop-down notification bar. Inside the Xperia E Dual we have a single-core first-generation Snapdragon processor running at 1 GHz, and there's half GB of RAM. That means you can forget about playing the latest, most complex video games, but some more basic ones like Temple Run or Jetpack Joyride run just fine. Moreover, the performance of the smartphone is very good. It's quite responsive as long as you are not using a live wallpaper. Here we have the default web browser on the Xperia E Dual. It has not been changed much from its stock form. Unfortunately, it tends to struggle with heavier web pages, but for some lighter web browsing it gets the job done just fine. You can play back embedded YouTube videos, but we wouldn't really recommend doing that because that renders the web browser unusable. The 3.2 megapixel camera on the Sony Xperia E Dual is of very low quality. It takes mediocre photos and you probably wouldn't really want to view them on a screen bigger than this 3.5-inch display right here. The videos that it takes are captured at VGA resolution. They look okay, but still they're nothing out of the ordinary for an entry-level device. Here we have the default music player, the Walkman media player, which comes loaded on the Sony Xperia E Dual. Basically, there's nothing to complain about. It has all the necessities that you would expect out of a music player. You get the home screen controls, there is a lock screen widget, and the media player has the ability to look for whatever album art or music information may be missing from your collection. As long as you don't mind the low quality display, you can enjoy some videos on the Sony Xperia E Dual. It has a support for most popular file formats, but only of resolution up to 640 by 480 pixels. We have to admit that the Sony Xperia E Dual is great when it comes to making voice calls. Voices sound clear, loud and distinct both through the earpiece and on the other side of the line. With its 1500 mAh battery, the Sony Xperia E Dual should last through about 6 hours of continuous talk time. It is also rated for 33 hours of continuous listening to music. There is a way, however, of extending its battery life, and that is done through enabling extended standby mode, which Sony has built into the device. What it does is basically, when the smartphone is in standby, all connectivity features are disabled in order to save power. Only thing that works is the incoming voice calls and text messages. In conclusion, we can say that the Sony Xperia E Dual is a great offering for users who must have a dual SIM Android smartphone but don't want to spend too much money on it. At this price point, this has to be the best Android smartphone you can get right now with dual SIM functionality. Of course, if your budget allows it, you can still check out the pricier alternatives such as the Samsung Galaxy S Duos and the HTC Desire V, both of which come with much better displays and far superior cameras than this. Thank you for watching our video review of the Sony Xperia E Dual. This is Nick, and if you'd like to learn more about the latest smartphones and tablets, go visit our website phonearena.com.